The Jared Dillian Show.
I'm Jared Dillian. This is The Jared Dillian Show. Welcome. It's Monday. If you'd like to call to talk about your money, please call 844-305-7800. That's 844-305-7800. This is The Jared Dillian Show. You can also go to my website, which is jareddillianmoney.com. I would keep an eye on that for the next couple of weeks. And you can also follow me on Twitter at DailyDirtNat. But before we get going, first of all, let me just say I'm a baseball fan. I'm not a football fan. But even though I'm not a football fan, I do know who Odell Beckham is. I do know who that guy is. And he just started playing for the Cleveland Browns. And he went out onto the field, the football field, wearing a $350,000 watch. Yes, they do make watches that are $350,000. The watch in particular is called a Richard Mille 1103 McLaren Flyback Chronograph. And it's $350,000. And, I mean, look, I'm a watch guy. I actually have a handful of expensive watches, and I would love a Richard Mille. I would. I've been to the Richard Mille store on Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills. I've been to the Richard Mille store in Vegas at the Crystals Mall. I love those watches. They're very cool watches. You need a lot of money to buy a $350,000 watch. So let's just evaluate this for a second. Does Odell Beckham make enough money to justify buying a $350,000 watch? First of all, let's just talk about whether he's justified buying it. Not let's talk about whether he should be wearing it to play football. Okay, let's just leave that aside for 1 second. Odell Beckham makes $16,750,000 a year, which I think if he quits smoking, he could probably live on that. So, I mean, $16 million is it's a lot of money. So that basically means that this watch represents 2% of his income, which is a lot. That's a lot of your income to spend on one thing, especially if you're going to play football with it. And second of all, on an after-tax basis, he's pulling home $8 million. So really that's 4% of his income on a watch. That's not something you should be doing. If you want to buy a $350,000 watch, you should have in net worth, you should have $100 million if you're going to buy a multiple six-figure watch. Personal finance for the stars, Jared Dillian. So, look, I would love a watch like that, but that is madness. That is absolute madness. So I disapprove. I would be happy to have him on the show. We can talk about this. I get the feeling that he's going to be one of these professional athletes. You know what's funny is my wife and I were watching TV the other day, and there was a Windows and Doors commercial that came on. This was Charleston TV. This Windows and Doors commercial came on, and this guy is in the commercial, and he's like, "Yes, I install windows and doors. I was the Clemson quarterback." Right. Okay, so this guy was quarterback of the number one college football team in the country. I don't know if he played pro or not. He probably did. Installing windows and doors. So that is why Odell Beckham should not be wearing a $350,000 watch. Because you do have a life after sports. Let's talk about taxes. And I have a quick story to tell you. Taxes are a big nuisance. Doing them yourself is a big nuisance. Most people don't do it. Well, that's not true. A lot of people still do it themselves. I just have a quick story. So I did my own taxes from 1996 to 2006. So basically from age 22 to age 32. 2006, my taxes started to get really complicated. And in my house, basically I had an office. And in that office, there was a coffee table. And I had all the tax stuff spread out on the coffee table, and basically I kept making mistakes. I was doing it I don't know if I was doing it by hand, but I kept getting errors, and I had to do it over and over again. It took 2 whole days, 2 days of doing my taxes on this coffee table. And finally I made one last mistake, and I lost it. I absolutely lost my mind, and I started pounding on the coffee table, and the coffee table broke. The whole top of it broke, and I kept hitting it until it was in like this splintered wood pieces everywhere. I destroyed this coffee table, and I picked up all the wood in my arms and I carried it downstairs, and like I walked past my wife and I'm like, never mind. So that's what taxes can lead you to do. It is brutal. I hate doing taxes. Having said that, if you were young and you were listening to this, I'm going to recommend that at least for a while, you do your own taxes. You should do your own taxes. And we'll talk about why in a second. But, when I started in the late 90s, it was all paper. There was no H&R Block. There was no TurboTax, Kiplinger's, all this stuff. It was all paper. So that meant you were sitting there with a pencil and a calculator, and you would fill in this tax form. And then once you got the numbers to check out, then you would fill it in pen, and then you would stick it in an envelope, and you would mail it off. So that's what people did. That's what I did. It was kind of an interesting exercise because when I first started learning about taxes, I was in college, and, I went to a service academy. I went to the Coast Guard Academy. I don't know if you know this, but cadets actually get paid. Not only do you not pay tuition, there's no tuition, it's free, but you also get paid a salary. Now, back then, basically we got paid $500 something a month, but we didn't get all of it because it went to books and uniforms and stuff like that. So we got like $200 a month. But anyway, we were getting taxed on that full amount. We were getting taxed on the $500 a month. So basically we had like $6,000 a year in income, and we all had to fill out tax returns on that $6,000 a year in income, and nobody had any other. It was the easiest tax return in the world. It was just like income. We had tax withheld, and bam, that was it. It was a 1040 EZ. I don't know if you ever heard of that form, but it's a 1040 EZ. And that's when I started doing my taxes. Now, when I was like 18 years old, 19 years old, I had no idea what this was. This complicated form, all these words I didn't understand, income, depreciation, this, that. I had no idea what was going on. It just made no sense. But after a while of doing my own taxes, it starts to make sense. So in the beginning, your life is super simple. Your financial life is super simple. You have income, probably W-2 income. You get taxes withheld from that income. You compute the tax that you're supposed to get. You probably had taxes over withheld, so you apply for a refund, and that's your taxes. That's basically it. You don't need to get an accountant for that. You should do it yourself, and you should learn. Then you get older, and you start to acquire possessions, and your financial life starts to get a little more complicated. So maybe the first thing you do is you buy a house. And then when you buy a house, you get to deduct the mortgage interest. So you get a form from the bank at the end of the year called a 1099. 1099B, I believe that, or 1099R, I can't remember, where it gives you all the mortgage interest that you paid. You get to deduct that. And what else? You're itemizing deductions. And then maybe you get a brokerage account. You get like a Robinhood account or something like that. And now you're trading stocks. And now you have capital gains, you have dividends, and you got to do a Schedule D. So as you get older, your financial life gets more complicated. And basically the way it works is that, when your financial life is really simple, you can go on the internet and you can do your taxes for free with H&R Block. They basically make money off the ads. And but if you have capital gains, now you have to pay $50 or $70. You can still do it, but it just costs a little bit of money. But it's basically then things really, really get complicated. Now you're getting stock options at work, and you bought a house and you're renting it out, so you're doing the passive income and you're taking depreciation. This is when things get really, really complicated. But we'll talk about that more when we get back. I'm Jared Dillian. This is the Jared Dillian Show.
Jared Dillian. Own your money, own your life.